Russia, a land both distant and intimately familiar. Over the years, this channel has shared authentic tales from this captivating nation. However, today marks the moment for an extraordinary and unparalleled narrative. Brace yourself for a truly remarkable experience as I take you on an unforgettable journey. This story is unlike any other, and I urge you to join me until the very end of this video. The reason behind this extraordinary event will become crystal clear before we part ways. In a quaint town near Kazan in the 1980s resided Viktor Kuznetsov, a man whose life revolved around tending to his sheep and cultivating the land. Viktor's youth was blessed when he met his beloved wife, and they entered into a marriage filled with love and hope. Eager to embrace parenthood, they embarked on the journey to have children, but destiny seemed to have other plans. As the months turned into years without the much desired arrival of their first child, Viktor and his wife felt the weight of disappointment. In those days, advanced medical equipment was not readily available to aid in fertility issues, making the quest even more challenging. In search of answers, they consulted a local doctor, hoping for a glimmer of hope. However, the doctor's news was disheartening, informing them that Viktor's wife was unable to conceive. The weight of sorrow fell upon them, but Viktor, ever selfless and compassionate, stood strong beside his wife, determined to help her navigate through the pain and uncertainty that engulfed her. Despite the heartache, Viktor's love for his wife prevailed, and together they embarked on a new chapter of their lives, supporting and comforting each other in the face of adversity. Remembering that she would not be able to have children, she told him, "You better separate from me, Viktor. You have a right to your happiness." The man with tears in his eyes replied, "No, woman, you are my happiness." God knows why he does things. And from then on, they both lived with a broken dream. Maybe that's why the man got along well with the animals, tried to calm his soul and order his thoughts. So he had no time to feel sad. He had to work if he wanted to have a life without worries, and at 30 years of age, something important happened. It was the coldest winter season of the last decade. It was July in 1988. All the windows of the house were closed. The heating had to be on all the time at the expense of wood and fire. A lot of snow had fallen that night, and by morning it was finally clear. The farmer went out into the yard and felt that something was wrong. The door to his animal's pen was open. He panicked. He thought his sheep had escaped. But no, they were all in their place. The man sighed in relief, threw them hay, and watched as the sheep ran happily to eat. And it was just at that moment that his smile changed. One sheep was missing. In fact, she was the one that was always attached to him and always ran when Viktor approached. Besides, she was different from the rest of all this flock. She was the smallest and the only one that limped. The farmer had never experienced anything like this. It was the first time one of his animals had escaped, but how? He wondered if she couldn't even run properly because of her small disability. So he went out to look for her, searched every corner of his yard, but nothing. So he went out on the same trail where Viktor used to take his sheep to eat grass on the mountain. He walked through the territory and finally noticed his beloved sheep lying in the distance. She was lying about half a mile from the house. But how did she get here? And why was she the only one that got out? The farmer ran over to look. Did she freeze? He ran to her and began to remove the snow with his bare hands, but his beloved sheep would not get up, and only when he had removed all the snow from her had he become perplexed. Finally, he understood why she would not stand up, and that is that she is hiding under her body a small child. It was obvious the sheep had mourned the baby all that time. The farmer immediately took the child with his cold hands. When he felt this, the little boy woke up. Surprisingly, his skin was very warm. It was as if he had not spent the night under the intense cold, maybe minus 20 degrees. The farmer could not believe what he was witnessing and could not get over his amazement. So he took him home, and on the way he asked himself, how did all this happen? His wife at the time was making the dough for the cakes. The man opened the door in desperation and entered the house with a child in his arms. The wife looked on in astonishment. What about that baby? The farmer tried to explain what had happened, but his wife asked him to calm down, and together they began to examine the child, which was actually a little girl. It was the first time a baby was at home. The little girl finally woke up. The woman said, "But how did you get here?" The little girl then sat still on the bed. "What is your name?" The farmer asked her. The baby looked at him and kept silent. The man repeated his question, but again did not get an answer. "Victor, it's a baby." However, since he did not get an answer, he himself decided to check where she could have come from. He told his wife that he would walk around to nearby houses. The man went out, asked the neighbors, but nobody knew anything. Having no one else to ask, he decided to examine the place where he found the baby. It's amazing how you made it through the night without shelter and didn't freeze. The man, for some reason, decided to dig right under where he found the baby. He really didn't expect anything, but soon he felt something with his hands. There was a paper note. He opened it. There were some words, however. The man could not read and could not understand what it said. So he went back home at that moment. The little girl was playing with the family dog. She looked very happy. The man showed the note to his wife. The woman who could read opened it, and it read, "Forgive me, but I can't have you with me." Everything was beginning to take shape. No doubt they intentionally left the child behind. The woman said, "How can they leave such a fragile little girl in the middle of nowhere in the bitter cold and a piece of paper with a simple apology on it?" The man was furious. They decided it was better to keep her at home and let it be what God wills. So, the couple with the youngest child, whom they named Ekaterina, they raised her as their own daughter and worked harder to make sure she lacked nothing. Ekaterina began to grow up and did not know how her parents had found her. They did not tell her anything either. With a natural ease, Ekaterina lovingly began to address them as Mom and Dad, bringing immense joy to the farmer and his wife. As she blossomed under their care, she also formed a heartwarming bond with the sheep who had been her protectors and saviors. Though the memory of that fateful night remained elusive, gradually slipping away with the passage of time, Ekaterina's childhood memories also began to fade. As several more years went by, the sheep, who had been her loyal companions, gracefully aged, marking the passage of time and the beautiful moments they shared together.